In the opulent city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a young woman named Sophia. She was married to a wealthy businessman named John, who spent most of his time traveling abroad for work. Despite his frequent absences, John was a kind and trusting husband who showered Sophia with love, luxury, and freedom. Their marriage was blessed with three beautiful children, all of whom attended prestigious boarding schools. Sophia's life seemed perfect. She had a lovely husband, adorable children, and a lavish lifestyle. However, beneath the surface, Sophia was struggling with a deep sense of loneliness. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Sophia found herself craving for attention and affection. She began to feel like a single woman rather than a married one. The silence and emptiness of their grand mansion echoed with her every step. It was during this time of loneliness that Sophia's friend Nneka came into the picture. Nneka was a beautiful and vibrant woman who lived life to the fullest. She was always attending parties and nightclubs, as she seemed to have a never-ending supply of admirers. Nneka and Sophia had been friends since childhood, and they had always been close. However, as Sophia's marriage became more and more isolating, Nneka began to sense that her friend was unhappy. She started to invite Sophia to join her on nights out. And at first, Sophia was hesitant, but Nneka was persistent, and eventually, Sophia agreed to join her friend for a night in the town. They went to a popular nightclub in Lagos, where they danced and laughed together until the early hours of the morning. Sophia had never felt so alive, so free. She had forgotten what it was to let loose and have fun, and Nneka was happy to remind her. As the night wore on, Sophia found herself attracting attention from several men who were drawn to her beauty and charm. Nneka encouraged Sophia to flirt with the men to have fun and enjoy herself. Sophia, feeling more and more liberated, began to let her hair down. She started to attend more and more parties and nightclubs with Nneka, and she found herself becoming more and more confident. It was at one of these parties that Sophia met a man named Alex. He was handsome and charming, and Sophia found herself drawn to him immediately. They danced and flirted together, and Sophia felt a spark of attraction that she had not felt in years. As the night wore on, Sophia and Alex grew closer and closer until they were finally alone together. It was then that Sophia realized that she had made a mistake, that she was married and should not be behaving in this way. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Sophia had caught the attention of Alex, and he was not willing to let her go. He began to pursue her, to woo her with flowers and gifts. Sophia found herself becoming more and more attached in the affair. As the days turned into weeks, Sophia found herself sneaking around, lying to her husband and her friends, all in order to be with Alex. She knew that it was wrong, but she could not help herself. She was addicted to the thrill of the affair, to the attention and affection that Alex showered upon her. But Sophia's happiness was short-lived. As she continued to see Alex, she began to attract attention from other men as well. Then she started to sneak them into her mansion, always careful to avoid detection. However, her luck eventually ran out on one fateful day. As she was sneaking one of her lovers out of the mansion, she was caught by her driver Michael and the gatekeeper Thomas. The two men were shocked and amused by Sophia's antics. They had always suspected that something was wrong, but they had never imagined that their boss's wife was leading such a terrible life. Sophia was mortified. She begged and begged Michael and Thomas not to reveal her secret to anyone, not even her husband. However, the two men were not so easily convinced. They proposed a deal to Sophia. In exchange for their silence, they demanded that she sleeps with both of them. Sophia was horrified by the suggestion, but she felt trapped. She had no other way out, and the thought of her husband discovering her infidelity was too terrifying to even imagine. With a heavy heart, Sophia agreed to the men's demand. As the days turned into weeks, Sophia found herself becoming more and more entrenched in her illicit relationships with Michael and Thomas. She began to use them as toys to fulfill her sexual desires and fantasies, often sleeping with both of them at the same time. The three of them grew more and more comfortable with each other. As their clandestine activities became more brazen, they would often have sex in the mansion's pool, even in the garden, without any regard for the consequences. However, their carefree days were numbered. One of their neighbors, a nosy and malicious woman called Mrs. Iwuji, had been watching their antics with great interest. She had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and one day she finally got her chance. As Sophia and Michael with Thomas were frolicking in the pool, the neighbors knocked up to the fence and began to video and record them. She then sent the incriminating footage to John, Sophia's husband, who was in abroad on one of his business trips. John was heartbroken when he received the video He couldn't believe that his wife, the woman he loved and trusted, had been cheating on him with their own driver and gate man. He felt betrayed and humiliated, and he became very furious. Without hesitation, John boarded a flight back home immediately, determined to confront Sophia and bring her infidelity to an end. He arrived at his mansion with a team of police officers who arrested Sophia, Michael, and Thomas on the spot. Sophia's world came crashing down around her. She was thrown into jail, where she was forced to confront the consequences of her action. John, meanwhile, was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered marriage. As the news of Sophia's infidelity spread like wildfire, Nneka, her friend and confidant, was shocked and devastated. She had never intended for things to go this far, and she couldn't believe that Sophia had been so reckless and selfish. Nneka tried to visit Sophia in jail, but Sophia refused to see her. She was angry and hot, and she blamed Nneka for introducing her to the party lifestyle and encouraging her to cheat on her husband. As the days went by, Sophia's anger and bitterness only grew. She was forced to confront the reality of her actions, and she realized that she had lost everything that truly mattered to her, her family. John, meanwhile, was struggling to come to terms with the end of his marriage. He had loved Sophia with all his heart, and he couldn't believe that she had betrayed him so callously. In the end, Sophia was left alone, her reputation in tatters, her life forever ruined and changed by her own deceit and infidelity. She was forced to sign divorce papers, relinquishing her claims to John's wealth and properties. As she walked out of jail, Sophia was met with the harsh reality of her new life. She was no longer the wealthy, pampered wife of a successful businessman. She was now a single woman, alone, adrift in a world that seemed determined to judge her. The once beautiful and vibrant Sophia was now a shadow of her former self. She had lost everything that matters to her, and she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. As for Nneka, she was left to ponder the consequences of her actions. She had never intended for Sophia to get hurt, but she realized that she had played a role in her friend's downfall. Nneka vowed to be more careful in future, to think before she acts, and to always consider the consequences of her actions. She had learned a valuable lesson, and one that she would never forget.